It's book review time. Hello, guys. This is LukeJ62895's speaking. Welcome to episode 4 of LukeJ62895 book reviews. Now, it's been nearly 3 years since we never done a book review on my main channel. And without further ado, let's begin reading chapter 3 of Street Gay. Now, it's going to be a 50th year of Sesame Street, and the documentary is going to be released on HBO pretty soon. So, let's read you the story of Street Gay, chapter 3, right now, because I have to read you a story about it. So, there you go. Where are we? We're on page number... Yeah, there we go. Chapter 3. The stage manager barked 10 seconds as Bob Kenson found his mark. Inhaled deeply and smoothed the deep white trim pocket of his navy blue jacket. Okay, sounds reasonable. It was Monday, October 3rd, 1955, as CBS was going live with the first episode of Captain Kangaroo, which is called off. Hastily monitored breakfast hour confession for young viewers. Okay, called off. And concentrate for the long budget, locally produced cartoon correlations that defied much for more of a morning departure. It slowed at the pace. Sorry, I have to read it my own. Its slower pace, and dailyness would reflect the better sensibilities, I cannot pronounce the word, I'm sorry, of Keishan. Okay? Who was not only the series star, but was 28, was his, wise beyond the years, career. Which is cool. What mattered of the morning of the premiere of CBS programming is executives and advertising salesman was whatever the new show was provide and rating balance. Okay, though morning television has not yet evolved into the various battleground, and it was only one day become network jobs where one lost on the basics of which viewers and how many of them were time to programs. Excuse me. At the top of the hour, but the boys in the business side of what's open serial years would flood the TV sets in such numbers that CBS would crash in the competition at 8 a.m. Okay. Applying to the old show business at age. If you can't beat 'em, steal 'em. Okay, called off. CBS has condensed to defeat from Tinker's War Shop, a local children's story that been hammering the network's New York City's effort WCBS in the nation's morning ratings. Okay, going off. Its deal with Kitchens and its business partner Jack Miller. Okay, went something that like this. Come up with some millions of kitties eyeballs start staring at you. Okay, we'll set you up a letter. I can't read while I was in the middle of doing something, but okay. Larquins Hall on 58th Street and at Lexington Avenue. The same studios where the daytime serial whippers Street Storm and Search for Tomorrow originate, okay? We'll need you to do 2 live shows every morning, 5 days a week. The first will be 8 a.m. For Eastern affiliates. The second at 9 a.m. will be Midwest, okay? We'll give you 40 seconds to pee between shows. Ha ha ha. Makes no sense, but whatever. And don't worry about the kids in California. We have a plan. They'll see the show with film delay a couple of weeks late. Whatever. CBS moved quickly, going Keeshan and Miller only 9 days to produce a pilot, which, with little time to deliberate, the pair went with gut and pulse, relying on the basic formulas that had worked so well in Tinker's workshop, which features Keeshan considering on the Emily Appine toy, okay, maker. Okay. He would play as a kindly older gentleman as host on the new show. The kind of encouragement so one might encounter on the sea voyage or train wig, okay? Or where are we? Train trip, excuse me. The captain, as he would call, would sport a bowl-cut gray wig, a bushy mustache, and walrus sideburns. Over the white shirt and black tie, he would don a 4-button free quarter-length coat with a carnation, something like that. Flourish of the lapel. The deep pockets were piped in the white when an artist drew the character as we describe him. Somebody said, "Hey, look at the kangaroo here, hence Captain Kangaroo." Okay? Keisha wants a total TV guy, which is a good idea, I guess. Each morning, the captain would unlock the door to knick-knack decorated treasure house. Excuse me, sorry. Pirate Wonderland, our childhood, as described in the CBS press release. Events both prophetic and fashionable could occur within and outside the treasure house set. Mr. Green Jeans, a neighboring farmer and sidekick, played by Hugh Lumpy Brunsman, something like that. I can't pronounce his last name, sorry. Would stop dropping by to show the captain and the boys and girls at home about the baby chicks, or go towering to a rope. A summer grandfather clock could blink into the lake, and share a window, or a life-size teddy bear could dance around the studio. Sounds interesting. The captain could read aloud from the storybook. The way of father or grandfather might bedtime, cool enough. Or you might. I'm not gonna try to sit cuss around here to say it, but whatever. Digger with a hand puppet named Bunny Rabbit, which is cool. Okay. A mute screwed Simmer and the tiny eyeglasses will always found a way to scam a stash of fresh carrots from the captain, or the Mr. Moose, a general punisher prankster, Hang on, let me turn off my iPad real quick. Okay, where is I? Yes, okay, I'm just gonna get that ready to go before we get started to finish off reading. The voice that sounded the puppeteer who was multiplying him, Gus, Grady, has been huffing helium, something like that, which is stupid, I know. Which find, ingenious ways to rain ping pong balls on the captain's head, okay? Doesn't make any sense, but whatever. Anything could happen and did within certain polite limits. Even before its premiere, CBS promoted Captain Kangaroo as a gentlest children's show in the air. Okay? Makes sense, but whatever. Keishan had all but fallen into show business. 2 weeks prior to his 18th birthday on Friday, 1945, he had been inducted in the United States Marine Corps, reversion despite the Paris Island. Moving on. The Marines were all trained from the installed in the home islands of Japan, which we know will be part of the few short months. The automatic age to all that, change all that, excuse me. It's my boot camp days worn down, Keishan said. To his great pleasure after his discharge, Keishan was rehired by NBC, where as a high school page, he had earned $13.50 a week for ushering radio audiences to their seats in the network studios as part of his new responsibilities as a columnist for NBC Radio. Keishan has to scrutinize scavenge research material for Bob Smith's Chatty Morning radio show during, next page, during a segment called That Wonderful Year. Okay? Smith would sit on the piano and sing popular favorites from days past, using a script woven from Keishan's notes, okay? At the time, Keishan was been taking pre-law night courses at Fordham University, rebounded from and culminate slide in high school following his mother's son's death at age 45, which is sad, I know. A school guidance counselor, Gertrude Farley, interrogated and demanded that I found my way once again. Keishan recalled Mrs. Farley saved my life. In high school, Keishan's pleasant voice and her interest in broadcasting leads him to produce plays over the school's public address system. He abandoned a path toward the law in 1947 after meeting Smith, a wavy-haired charmer who's had leap to popularity, that's not how you pronounce it, but whatever. His native Buffalo, before landing and more in the music talk show in New York City. It was an answer to Offer Godfrey Time CBS. The variety show lorded over by a star-making, ukulele-plinking host who become a radio columnist. That later, that Carter TV, Smith audience was miniature composed by Godfrey's, okay? Smith was also a host of Triple B Ranch, okay? A hit Saturday morning radio show for kids that aired on NBC's New York Athlete, WEAF. Their three B's in the self-referential title should be Bob. Okay? Then the voice of the Drew Branch hand. Smith greeted listeners at the top of the show with this exponent, oh ho ho, howdy doody. Okay? Capitalizing on the radio show's popularity, Smith and agent Martin Stone sniffing the possible move to television. NBC hungry from programming to and aware of the fan base at Triple B Ranch. Bought Stone's pitch, conceptualized for television as a cross between the one-ring circus and a post-NBC's Eastern Television Network in New York, Boston, Pennsylvania, Washington, Baltimore, and where you pronounce it, excuse me. I don't have mouth to say, right? So there you go. Epic Ender, whatever you pronounce it, of research of development for General Electric multi-defender of the television picture tube. Okay, the show title was changed to Howdy Doody, in regardation with his lead character, the Franco cowboy marionette that lived in the megarate of characters, both human and wooden, in the video village of Deweyville, USA. Okay. Within a year, Howdy Doody would become television's first mega hit television children's show, and the welcoming to commercial success. By 1955, bought cars of Howdy's brand merchandise and hand puppets, marionettes, mechanisms, whether it's RCA's, phonograph records. I never had these before in my life, because I have some vinyls right here, so there you go. Comic books, yeah, that too I never have in my life. Marbles, sleeping bags, cookie jars, and a small library of little girl books have found their way into display cases of toy stores, 5 and dimes, purchase pharmacies, and neighborhood markets. How these impacts in consumer cars later actually measured by Miami Herald, which is good. Hermit's exterminate Dave Barry in this book. Dave Barry turns 50, which I never seen, but I'll get to that in the book review in the future episodes of book reviews. You know, we sang the Howdy Doody song. We nagged the other parents in their serenity to buy the many items of Howdy Doody merchandise entirely into it. They could have advertised and have a Howdy Doody, rich official Howdy Doody edition of all 16 volumes of Remembrance of Things Past by Michael Pars, which I never see in my life. But I'll purchase it, like I said, in the future book reviews on my main channel, like I said. And the original French, which I don't speak French that much of enough, sorry, but I'll have to do an English version in the book reviews. So there you go. And we would have to beg our parents for it, okay? Perhaps the most extreme moderation of the character's popularity came in the election year of 1948, when the show's writer Eddie Keene, got the idea to mount a presidential campaign for Howdy Doody, but whatever. Smith recalled in the special issue of People magazine in the summer of 1989, which I never seen because I only have the winter version of the 1989 version before my grandma Cray passed away. So there you go. We asked the kids to write in the buttons that they were going to vote for Howdy. Send a self-addressed sample envelope and we'll send you a button. And I think that was the whole 6 days where Howdy Doody aired, which is good enough. There wasn't more than 6,000 television sets. The response was overwhelming. Like 150,000 returns after one mentioned on the air. when we had only ordered 10,000 buttons. I never had these buttons in my life, but there you go. But I only had this Woody from Woody Wounds Up, the parody of Howie Dewey, but there you go. We have no idea if it would be that successful. But if we turn out every by one over at the neighbor's house watching Howie Dewey show, I thought, oh my god, I either fired or I've got to dig down more money for more buttons. Which is good. I'm more excited for Bob Smith, but there you go. But sadly, he passed away in 1998, so if he's down here in heaven, so there you go. On November 14th, 1948, a week after Harry Truman's upset victory over Russians rival, Thomas Dewey, the New York Times writer Jack Gold, hailed the New York election President of the Boys and Girls in America, perhaps the most successful write-in candidate in the American history. No mistake about it, it's Howie Dewey time, with a platforming favoring double ice cream sodas for a dime. I never have these, no. School once a year. Okay. And plenty of movies. I have seen some movies that are old now, because there are a lot of movies I've seen. I haven't even got a poster of Cinderella from 1950, so there you go. Which, by the way, they're in this book, which I'm reading right now, is from the 1940s, and this one came out in 2009, so this is from the 40th anniversary of Sesame Street, so there you go. The youngest young boy who is a favorite of the peanut gallery, I'm allergic to the peanuts. But there you go. Finished the third behind Truman and Dewey, okay? Racking up 10 times the number of the votes according to Progressive Party, candidate Henry Wallace. Howie resigned supreme on television each afternoon at 5:30 as he pranced before the embassy cameras under the knowing guidance of Bob Smith. It's all in the wonderful make-believe puppet imaginary Howie Dewey. It's still in the first exclusive and most imaginable creation of Villain. Okay? Mr. Dewey, which I know is Howie Dewey for the time being, is never been called, is a handiwork, almost exclusively of Mr. Smith, who was in 12-month period of, experimented a gift for dealing children with truly phenomenal. Previously, it only has the partner of an early morning charter and song by show law, Arthur Godfrey. He performed upon imposed into Howie to be that rare in the soul's hold on. A man who avoids hints of conditions like that towards the younger generation, and to make their boys and girls feel partners, you know. It's a good thing, you know. In the separate period hijinks of his one alter ego. Thanks to Mr. Smith, those hijinks are sparked by one of the most imaginative minds in broadcasting. For the Howie Dewey Show is blessed with incredibly stupid judges and, most importantly, a proof of view, which always is wholesome, not yet never stuffy. Agree, big time. How many pages left for chapter 3? Okay. Are we on chapter 3 so far? Because I'm serious when it comes to taping this, you know. Where are we? Here. Give me one moment. It's gonna take me a while to finish up reading this book, you know. Okay. Up until 60, okay. There we go. That way we'll wrap up the show, so there you go. Okay. Oh, man. Okay. Where are we? Oh, yes, everyone, would engage nonsense and per fantasy. However, it's an astonishing amount of information and education for the youngsters. Last Tuesday, the visitor of the show was in the Air Force constable and of course the old bothersome Mr. Y, which I've never seen before in my life, wanted to know what to make a airplane get up, okay, in the air, which is sorry about that. There's been some difficulties on my end, but then let's continue on. The resultant explanation was clear. Succinct and enlightening for an adult, or take how these heroic victory over Mr. X in the election, okay? Without ever saying so, Mr. Smith offering was as a primer in demonstrability, explaining how much to mark a ballot, the rules of the election, okay? Let me just move the mouse just in case I don't want you to click stop, but whatever. And the rules of the election contents is a free country, whatever you call it. But it was all done with gravity and harmless suspense, so that it was not seem like election at all. On the show, Keishan was at first combination prop master, child wrangler, part golfer, part babysitter, excuse me. Dressed as a smart blazer, a dirtfully blended prices the kitties. After donning in a clown costume in one episode, the audience glee, he became Clarabelle Hornbell. Excuse me. A baggy pants prankster who had 3 tattoos on his hair, sprawling from his power dome. Okay. 2 above his ears, and 1 above the sternum. His mirthful makeup choice, highlighted by term grin and arched eyebrows, was the finish of Weary Willie, Emmett Kelly, downcast, heavy bearded, Harbo Clown, so the popular in the voice like Willie, though Clarabelle was mute. To make a point, he squeezed like a rubber blub. and the bicycle style horn belted in the bottom of his waist. Honking the style bonnet stand on a passable mosque, okay? Clarabelle's fizzy hence answer to most of the comedic and bass was the daughter of cast member with a shower of scissors, something like that. My mouth keeps moving, sorry. From Inspired by, okay. Sorry about that. I had to stand up a little while longer, but whatever. Chronister, although once as a special guest on NBC's primetime comedies cavalcade, Texas star Fear, Keystons as Clarabelle, hit Metton's Morals Right and the Kisher with a green pie, okay? Second only to Burroughs' live show in Howie Dewey, to the highest record ticket in television. You have someone who is new, or someone to snag a ticket for your child. Smith told People magazine that someone to snag a ticket for your child. Okay? Okay, sorry. I'm not confused, sorry. Smith told People magazine that the 40 peanut gallery tickets were issued a day, and the sponsor got 10. I got 4, and each cast member got 2 or 4 a week. The station relations department got all the rest. So actually, hardly everyone who wrote in the 4 tickets got everyone. Okay, half dozen impressions of or so. Sam Gibbon, a Manatee Isle handsome NBC production staff member who was assigned to keep an eye on the peanut gallery. He was to stay at least overquoted. A President's Gay Nui, Party Roads Shore. Gibbon completed a study of children's fear in Europe before landing to NBC studios. There is the standards for children's entertainment with highly refunded, with Buffalo Bob's were not. Well, Buffalo's Bob were not, which is stupid, I know. Meant to, that Gibbons found Howie Dewey's, deplorable waste of time. The show was a exploitation, he said. The kids would come and dress in their Sunday best and excited beyond measure, and they always leave cranky and crying. The mothers were never understood why. The reason was Smith. Before airtime, the kids would be staying. Where's Buffalo Bob? When did he finally came on? Excuse me. He would ignore them completely, except when he was on camera. And even then, he would stove the kids, decided to make room for himself in the peanut gallery. One time, when a kid said something to him, he spun around and short kick in the general direction of where the boy was sitting. Smith watched and flew off and skimmed up over the set of the peanut gallery. Years after Howie Dewey, I completed its 13th season 1, and ended on September 24th, 1960, after 2,343 shows. Smith admitted to some application of camera behavior. Stupid idea. Citing 2 examples of patients with and hostily tolerant is over-examined beyond fans. One day I'll be doing a Tootsie Roll commercial. This little kid kept interrupting with Buffalo Bob, Buffalo Bob. I couldn't stop because it's all lived back then. Finally, it turned out and said, "Yes, Sonny, what is it?" He said, "I can't eat Tootsie Rolls because I'm allergic to chocolate." I'm not really allergic to chocolate because, number one, it's not it's just, I'm allergic to peanuts back then. Now it's just peanut. Now I have got to say, I got so worried about Buffalo Bob at this point. So if he's watching this on the Ultimate content, he's gotta give some sadness in his life. So there you go. I went on the show and thought, well, there goes out crying. I would temper to smack kids like that. Oh, shoot. Another day, I was doing a commercial for Kellogg's Rice Krispies, okay? Every time the camera would be on me in this box of cereal, this little kid behind me would say hello and wave his hand right in front of my face. When the commercial was over, I was so angry at this kid, and Dad took the box and swung on the left. This is sad. You can't do this to the kids. I felt bad for these kids, but what happened here with this Buffalo Bob, you know? Just saying. So I wanted to hit him in the face. A little. Why? No, you can't do that. To remind him not to do that anymore. Okay. That's not enough. That you can't do that to a kid. Okay? As I did, he ducked, and the sweetest little girl got the box right in her face, and got a bloody nose. Oh, Jesus. Can you not do that, please? The camera did go up and down because the cameraman was shaking. He laughed so hard, and it was an earthquake in the studio. Before I get so complicated before we began on this book, I was just gonna peel it off because I have no idea I have no word to say about this. Why on earth you have to do that? I mean, seriously. Gibbon was then Lois Stenhan, will later write and produce the three of the most acclaimed children's shows in television history: Captain Kangaroo, Sesame Street, and The Legend Company. He then said many times that he learned a lot not to do on television from watching Buffalo Bob Smith. That's a good idea. I mean, years ago, I have never seen Buffalo Bob hitting like that. You know, I understand that Howie Doody canceled, but what happened here? You know, NBC also was home to network television's first series targeted and marketing the preschoolers. Its history reads that like a chemistry tale about advertising corrupted influence on even the best internation's efforts of using television to teach. On one day in 1952, an art editor in the New York Times answered the phone only to hear a strange emission from Jules Barbanek, something like that. Program director of NBC Television. We got a new show here over here. That's either the worst show or we ever pitch up in the best, or he said, right now I just don't know. Okay. This is unbelievable. Days earlier, without any promotion of the advance notice, networks added a children's show to its mid-morning lineup. One that is, of course, produced by NBC's affiliate station in Chicago, WNBQ. On the occasion of his first day of the network, a cranky cameraman offered a sure assessment of progressions. Where did they come up with this one? He groused over the one camera too. His buddy cracked. This old guy won't last out for a week. Is that long? Whatever. I don't know. Blow out your earshot. That old gal to deep sure every word. Not only was Dr. Franz Hirschwitz an accomplished education, but she also a master lip sweeter, still haunted over 20 years in the classroom. Good idea. And like most teachers, she have grown eyes in the back of her head, nothing to go past her. Within a matter of weeks, Dr. Horwich, as Mrs. Francis, would become a household name in the 21 major markets when the program aired. Mrs. Francis opened the show by ringing the handbell like a teacher summoning students to the Rose Red Schoolhouse that promoted the 3-year-old daughter of producers Rerun Burnett Jr. to suggest the title Ding Dong School. I have never seen that show in my life. It stuck. Okay. Bill as the nursery school of the air, Ding Dong School was just a busy 25 minutes of stories and activities for 3 to 5-year-olds, okay? The final 5 minutes of a half-hour series was directed to parents after the children were dispatched to go find them. Miss Francis would take and recap to what the children have learned that day, like a teacher on the back-to-school night. NBC began receiving stacks of mail from parents. Okay, sometimes as many as thousands of letters a day. New York Times writer Larry Waters marveled at the phenomenon. It's the only program NBC has devised that wins probably 100% acclaim. Miss Francis brings children a wide variety of experience, though action scenes and events which most mothers seem to be just too busy to give the youngsters. Okay, Dr. Horwich, chairman of the Education Department of Chicago's Roosevelt College, published nothing less than advancing interactive children's television. 5 decades before Blue's Clues, which is my favorite. Jenny, if you're watching this, for you, so there you go. Not surprisingly, oh yeah, and by the way, they're coming out with the reboots, so there you go. Not surprisingly, her method combined equal parts, show and tell, okay? During activity segments, she would ask children to come along, join along, as she cut construction paper into 5 puzzle pieces, or plant radish seeds into a Dixie cup made of dough pipe cleaners, okay? And a shoehorn, okay? The explanations of the movement and as a children's pace, as Miss Francis paused frequently to encourage and question viewers, addressing them as if they were seated right in front of her, which in a sense they were. At times, Mr. Francis would even carry it on as if the children were actually answer her. She was open at Monday broadcast. How was your weekend? Do you go in the ride of your car? Okay. Stupid idea, I know. Oh, you went to see your grandmother? Then, when the little guy was surprised, she said, your children Billy was free. His sister Susie. To the adult ear, he was fruitcake nutty. But kids that by the thousands began talking back to his sets. The show's popularity swapped a line of Ding Dong School products. It included long-playing albums on the RCA label, fun with instruments, a small library of golden books, your friend, the policeman. I don't have enough vinyls for RCA, nor I don't have any books from Ding Dong School because I haven't seen it before in my life. So there you go. And finger painting sets. It was supported at 8,500 offers that were conducted to extend the branded line of merchandise. While commercialized both in sustained the show, and automatically also eroded its credibility for a minute as much as Miss Francis was Polish preserve teacher. She was also a shameless huckster for Ding Dong School sponsors. Her live commercials for breakfast cereals, vitamins, and other cosmos, something like that, alongside with the plugs. Ding Dong School products were woven into the show and directed as children. When you go into the store, you help mother find a brand new Wales box. I know you will. Okay. Critic Gold gave Dr. Holwick quite a literature in 1955. It's a blistering column in the Times. He questioned the popularity of nutritional vitamin ads, recreating one for his readers. You take vitamins every morning like I do, Dr. Holwick inquired. I hope so, but they came to the explanation. Out of the bottle, she took 2 pills and put them in the cardboard plate. Now, it's been like over an hour of nearly an hour of taping. So there you go. They are pretty red color, and said Dr. Horwich, later adding, they're small and they're so easy to swallow. Page 38. First and foremost, there's a simple matter of safety. Secondly, it was not for television to decide if tots do or do not need pills. Yeah. I'm a pill person, so nowadays, back then I used to drink the medicine, so I used it as a kid. It's not doing it anymore, so there you go. Nowadays I use the pills, so there you go. Whoever a child as a vitamin directly is better dermatized to a parent after combination with the president's question rather than a national broadcasting company, stands for NBC, but whatever. Despite such criticism, in 1953, Ding Dong School won a George Gloucester Peabody Award for Outstanding Children's Program. NBC, nevertheless, dropped the show after 2 years of the network in favor of a new game show called The Price is Right. Stunned by cancellation, Dr. Hellwick quit her position at ABC's supervisor for children's programming, which the lack of teachers and shortage of schools, many boys and girls are attending schools that have today's basics, she said. Ding Dong School filed a need. Dr. Hellwick retained the rights to Ding Dong School, which continued in syndication until 1965. In 1952, after a tiff with Bob, Keeshan handed his stint as Clarabelle. The former page was cut loose. Okay. Clarabelle was recast, and that was that. A year later, Keeshan refers as Corny the Clown on Time for Fun. Okay? A local New York lunchtime show produced at WABC. Corny, less Mac, and mischoice than Clarabelle. Wore a bowler hat, a fluffy tie, and white striped jacket. Okay. From a park bench on the set, he will talk sweetly into the camera to the kids at home. Is painting a cocker Santa Poggi, a Keeshan Pammy Pat. Persian's lap. In 1954, Keeshan's character Persia span against with fingers woodshop, which conventionally won its early time slot in its weekly ratings, beating out news and information shows and rival stations. In the local cartoon shows in the 1950s was the video variant of the bowl of sugar clips of the chocolate milk caser. Tinker's Workshop was Irish oatmeal topped with a simple sprinkle of cinnamon. It offered comfort, warmth, and reassurance to young viewers, some of whom were fastening their college for schools, while younger siblings were settled in for a day with stay-home moms. Okay, Keishan scenes and he was on to something with his more soothing approach. One which is to host behave and welcome guest might in the viewer's home. He quietly won over certain mommy, excuse me, which is Loki, tone and advertising the mayhem. In 1954, that same year, Singers One Up came to local TV. WABC also launched Uncle Robbie's Cabin, an half-hour radio program, half-hour show. Program built around the multiple talents of Lumpy's Boredom. An incredible commemorative Joel Bassfield, flunking professional museum turned children and performer, fame orchestra, and Greek club leader Fred Waring have featured Bonham. Okay. Small town Stromer and Brace Smirnovis on his popular radio program in the 1940s. Bonham has demonstrated his gift for mimicry, narration, and installment of Little Curry. The royal adventures in the farm boy with hair the color of strawberry soda and a smile that could be son's the shame. Okay, it's cool enough, I guess. When Keishan jumped to CBS, he brought Bynum along to play the captain's sidekick. The admirable Tourist, Mr. Dreambeans, with a wide brim straw hat, plaid shirt, and diamond overalls. Brown's character might have been little already uncle in time. The occasion Brian Joel would be on television. But what team teaches what's the classroom? Excuse me, I did not know. I misspoke. But neither have the training in the education of child development. They both were sound pleasurable. It stands unsinkable. Questions about how young children shall be entertained and instructed. Daily topics touch basic science and nature, literature, music, art, geography, civics, and health. Okay? In the end of each broadcast, the captain would often remain viewers to brush their teeth and remember that it was never be good into Mother Day. Moving on. Naturals before camera. Keisha and Brian spoke to the boys and girls, never kids, with narrated hint of conventions, and they never lost sight of a variety of a young audience. Captain Kangaroo thus become especially viable terminal to the commercial onslaught that was children's television in the 1950s and 60s. Even as CBS kept continuously trying to pull the rug out under the captain, okay? Until the final weeks leading up the Captain Kangaroo debut, the show had no cast, no costumes, no set, not even a fully realized concept. What it did have was a time slot, and the network budgeting to call out of the rain seller. In New York, CBS was dead last in the only freeway race and losing ground. The network is about to dump the morning show. Okay? The main launch of news and entertainment that, despite significant effort and expense, okay, never captured the kind of attention enjoyed by its chief rival. The quickly in the morning's mix called Today on NBC, hosted by Dave co-creationist, reported from Chicago. The morning show was originally built around the talents of Walter Cronkite and Edward R. Morrow, played for CBS News, and as a U.S. press UP wired service reporter during World War II. Cronkite is parachute in Holland with the 101st Airborne flown along the bombing missions over Germany and covered the Allied invasion of D-Day. Next page. During the war, Morrow has tried unsuccessfully to pursue Cronkite to leave the UP for CBS. But in 1950, Cronkite accepted the second offer to Morrow, a division that apparently led valid perch in broadcast journalism history. On morning show, Cronkite took that time to discuss the day's events with Cora Mank, a lion puppet by Bill Bard, who is the author of or whatever kind of book author he is, who I don't know who he is. It kind of reminds me of Cuckoo Friend Ollie, something like that, who appeared on early television as Puppeteer's wife Carla, A Reporter's Life. Cronkite's 1996 autobiography, A Newsman Writes, which I never seen the book. I'll get to that in the book reviews coming soon, so there you go. Puppeteers can rear opinions on people and things that humans commentator would not feel free to utter. It was one of the highlights of the shows, and am proud of it. For one of the teen viewers in Huntsville, Maryland, watching Cronkite trades quips. Okay, I'm gonna spell that out in WordBank sometime soon, but whatever. With a puppy with great sport, young Jimmy Henson filled away the idea, which he's a great puppeteer in any way for the past 12 months of my life, you know. Cronkite was succeeded in 1954 by 36-year-old Jack Parr, a witty radio carrier and movie actor who had been under contract with Howard Hughes RKO Radio Pictures. In 1955, Dan Van Dyke, a 30-year-old comic from Danville, Illinois, joined the morning show. Really? I did not know that. In the retrospect, Intelligent Titans Walter Cronkite, Jack Parr, and Dave Van Dyke couldn't move the reins. Neil, it recognized the morning show might have been more virtual decisions, but that's not how the Marshall's network news staff, CBS, viewed the situation, which is not even good enough. I met with Robin and Jim years ago, and these are great guys, and they're friends to Robert Cronkite, you know, just want to let you know, and that's the way it is, you know? Just saying. Anyway, where was I? To them, waving a white flag, at their today's competitors at Rockefeller Center was crushing and humbling for years, to come. One of the news executives would see the decision, and vowed to get back in the early morning game, okay? And they mentioned that target occasions back for almost have all this years and the network. But on the morning the new children's show debut, as an announcer, according to Boys and Girls, CBS Television presents Captain Kangaroo, and serves a business opportunity to compete, okay? Up came the musical theme, Paul from Billy, and British instrumental piece written about a steam engine that occasioned a snag in the 11th hour from the transcription library. It's played for opening bars, provide a musical accompaniment to accompany the captain through the treasure house to an eventful stroll to be sure. Children took the show in droves. Parents hailed it, and at least one critic cheered. A New York Times review written by radio and television editor John P. Stanley, is what you pronounce it, phrased the delightful artistry of the television performer, named Bob Keeshan, which is cool. I meant to say performer, and not to say person, something like that. From a program that delivers criticized and boring fun to weekday mornings. Not only does it keep little ones apart covered, but it also does to do so without being so noisy. Agree, big time. But a quick fate on the same day as Captain Kangaroo debut. A highly coordinated show for school-aged kids premiere on ABC's afternoon lineup. Jack Gold's reviews in the next morning. Times very bowled over within acceleration. Walt Disney's long-awaited afternoon show for children, The Mickey Mouse Club, has its premiere yesterday on Channel 7. Okay? I have never seen The Mickey Mouse Club at all, but I have to get the DVDs, though. And as well as getting the archives from my library, so there you go. Hoping parents will have assumed that Mr. Disney will have bring about the long-needed relation. Understand TV programming could only keep their fingers crossed as debut board on the debations. Okay? Not only was the opening show with Roffrey and the pair with any numbers of existing display of Giovanni precisely, but this is Mr. Disney, the American broadcasting company, went commercial to the degree almost without proceeding. The viewer count cannot recall ever had seen a children's programs or an adults. For that matter, that was quite a commercial, but as Mrs. Disney's was easily the new season's most distressing news, apparently and purportedly genius in its measure of the virus to bit of video, which is good. Johnstone apparently the typewriter in the same way than the concert pianist approached a Steinway. With his previous bars, he snatched a fresh sheet of paper, fed it through the roller, lined in the migrants tracked his knuckles, rubbed his hands, clapped once, and began. One more in 1955, not long after the Captain Kangaroo's debut, Stone Sun and Peking was on presently ignored. It was not so much tapping his keys, and he was attacking to them, which is bad. Which with the present and proposed. An audience of shorts gathering outside the very something like that showroom on Fifth Avenue to watch his performance. Okay, and what the forecast of fair skies, the typewriter company had proceeded with its planned to place the spottation models outdoors, where it's bolted to pedestal. Most of us give a try pounding on high school typing instructions installation, but not stove. Okay, stupid idea, I know. He was firstly cranking on his resume. A self-described it, jack of all trades. Stone as well deserve, excuse me. I have to read the book right now. I don't know what to do. Politicians were stepping commonly. He was doing that, just that. As a minute to one down toward a job interview at CBS television, and possibly then break up a lifetime. It was take all the black luck and pluck. A guy muster duplicate the resume. He have left them behind in the apartment of West 15th Street. Okay, 6 subways and stopped behind him. Recently discrimination, something like that. Pronounce the word right. Excuse me. From his brief marriage of fresh out of matters program of Yale drama schools. Okay, he was trying to make his way as an actor in New York, selling the walk-on parts in TV dramas and the commercial here and there. Okay, part of relocating to Manhattan, he had enjoyed a season of summers shocking the non-quarry fear at Cape Cod. Okay, while there, he crossed paths with other Michigans who would also soon relocate to New York. I was directing and producing production of Dream Girl, a little comedy, which would call for something like 15 cents scene changes. In our tiny little theater, there was limited machinery for suturing. Firstly, from it once set transitions. One of the actresses in the company remembered that a friend of hers, a 17-year-old Harvard freshman, okay, why is she a freshman all of a sudden? But moving on. Was playing cocktail piano across town in the Cocomelec, Ian. She introduced me to Joe Grassapo, who is later a musical pianist from Sesame Street at the time. He sat at his piano and asked her how long each set's gonna took, which happened. What happened at the close of the previous scene, and what was on the mood that began the next one. I stared at the tape recorder, and Joe provided a series of little combinations each designed to lead the audience. Described actually, whatever pronunciation was, excuse me, described whatever the word is. So, help me out here. DLICI. Do it clearly. Sorry. Gonna skip that word out of one scene and into the next, and each precisely time up to cover the scenery change. I was blown away. He made up in a spot, which is good. By mid-autumn, the hard realities of completing the parts in New York has begun to sink into stone. Okay, who had yearned to live among the poorer Bennix of Greenwich Village, but as now he was gathered by performers, poets, painters, and street distributors. Only one borough separated him from moving into the blessed bohemian rows in the village. Sad. A critical storage of folding money in his pockets, whatever. So it was in the grand tradition of RC immigrants to Manhattan. Stone dropped his bags in the less discriminate neighborhood. His monthly rent was $55, and his 54 walk up at his called running where a guy could want. Behind that, tenants were never at the loss for company. This hilarious and poignant unpublished Momir Stone illuminate the building and the 4,000 residents, me about 10 mice and 3,989 cockroaches. Excuse me. I misspoke, whatever. That morning, John Stone was on his way to meet Lou Stone, no relation to his graduate, a TV executive with his power to jumpstart eager young man's career. CBS has appointed him to oversee a 2-track training program meant to develop producers and directors and would had the Ivy's leaders and graduates growing Northeastern schools as leg up. John figured he had 2 check marks besides his name already because he had both up the bachelor's degree from Williams College, along with a Master of Fine Arts from Yale's Drama School in New Haven, Connecticut, where he was raised. CBS needs quick studies, men with fear backgrounds who have at least basic understanding of stagecraft, lighting, sets, direction, costumes, and dealing with highly combustible egos of another check. He heard Lou Stone quickly weeded out candidates who would turn up their noses at the first assignment in the mailroom. There would be no special flavors. Then assignments would become increasingly rigorous at trainees, familiarize themselves with the production process steps in casting or importance that made perfect sense for John, who was not averse to the toil and was almost born to be that CBS trained program. Stones had the musicians an artist's eye. He had drawing talent and took photography seriously. And the burglar's stamina. Okay. Despite a childhood bout similar bourbon that kept him over the draft, he blended well with people in the show business, even maybe especially with the Confederate Union tradesman off stage with less a dreamer, okay, than a door, okay. Stones accomplished things with energy, flair, and great good humor, okay. Though he had no television production experience, Stone since there was a place for him to emerge entertainment field. and he's decided to be a part of it when indoctrinated after visiting Bob Mayhem. Okay, a Yale incarnative on the set of Robert Q. Lewis' show. A live variety program broadcast each weekday from Maxine Elliott's Pier of the 49th Street. Okay, Myram, a bear of a man who have completed his studies at Yale before Stone was already moving up in the ranks in the CBS training program and was Robert Q's stage manager leaving in it. Okay? It was almost imaginably exciting to be in the fear airtime neared. Okay? Stone was recalled by the moment he was a memoir, which I never seen because I'll get to that in the book review, like I said. As I explored the electric atmosphere, I realized that I was being drawn minute by minute into its magnetic field. Okay, when the end credits roll, Stone grants his watch in disbelief. How could 30 minutes pass like 10? He grabbed Miriam and they went off together. Over coffee, Miriam explained the progress of getting a shot in training program. It was a simple game. He said he needed to win over the guy who stole, okay? Then he did was a life-altering event with Stone, and especially nearly everyone connected with Sesame Street. Stone joined Captain Kangaroo as a newly hired production assistant, and the Stone show's second month on the air. By December, his fingers had turned purple by cranking script pages off of the drama in the mind grab machine. Next page. The front manacles disappears in the 1950s and 1960s, okay? Rendering the employee by the photocopter. He also has been assigned to mail a signed photograph to every child who sent a Christmas card to Captain Kangaroo. Stone recall Keishan has made up a card and on one side of which was a picture of the captain holding up a baby lamb, and on the other side was a message saying, "Dear friend, the little lamb had thought you were like this picture of us. Sincerely, blank." All that was left to add the captain's signature. I must have written Captain Kangaroo 5,000 times. That December, and I thought my purple hand was fall off. Moving on. As much as Stone disliked the office details of personal assistant, production assistant, he revealed in the time spent in the studio, I was transfixed. He said there was an energy and attitude and sense and shared purpose in that particular studio, and delicious, dangerous, prescient sense of humor. Its murmur stands an example of what it went behind the cameras, describing as comedy involving the incomparable mammals who had lodged in the treasure house on murderous night. One murderous night. The animal suppliers have left the next morning's animals visitors as in set overnight. On one cage, there was a 2 spider monkeys. In that number were 2 raccoons named Robbie and Rosie. Adorable. Unfortunately, the cages were left too close together, and at some point during the night, 2 raccoons reaching through the mesh of the cage caught the monkeys and killed them. This is not right. The carnage in the morning was horrible, and I agree, big time. And that's stupid, I know. The coons were eating the monkey's arms, and we were distracted. The show as we go on, and the audience would now normally Keishan. We used the animal spots with the cigarette break. Okay. He would welcome Mr. Green Jeans as Lumpy. Okay. On the animal of the day. And wait for close up the little visitor to say, tell us about it, Mr. Jeans. Green Jeans, excuse me. There was Lumpy's cue for to fill up the 2 or 3 minutes while Bob was wandering off to smoke and joking with a smart shake hands. But on this day, Bob carelessly stayed on the camera, and their dialogue went something like this. Keishan said, look at those long tails and the raccoons, Mr. Green Jeans. Brian said, yes indeed, Captain. They have long, bushy tails. Keishan said their tails are very long, Mr. Green Beans. Very long, very long. Brian says, yup, and paused for a moment, Keishan said, Mr. Green Jeans. And Brian said, yep, Captain. Keishan said, do you suppose they have little monkeys in them? Which is sad, no. The fine could have gone to the stagehands to crew that might have puzzled the little viewers at home. Now, this is so sad when it comes with these monkeys getting anything killed by these raccoons. Now, it's kind of a little bit sad at first, but, you know, how difficult it is, you know, when it comes to this whole difficulties with this whole raccoon. So, you know, just saying, and of course it'll be coming with this whole sadness right there, you know, just saying. Anyways, let's continue on. In later years, associate producer Norman White had 2 major responsibilities, on Captain Kangaroo: to carefully review advertising copy that Keishan would read on in the air, and to book variety talent, including animal acts, if it was a kitty or a doggy or a parakeet. Bob would do a segment, White said, but if it was a big animal, a dangerous one, he said, what the animal, he always gave the task to Lumpy, which is sad, I know. Once during the production rundown, Bob said, what's the animal today? And he would just tell the look of his face, and he was not interested in picking a seal. Lumpy, you handle it. And it's sad, no. He would say, well, the cuddly little seal, who had been so wonderful in rehearsal, came out and went vertical under the lights. The seal effects in its jaw and Lumpy's ear, and pretty soon there was blood pouring down his neck. No, it's just sad to me. Okay, moving on. Wright said the seal was hanging on for dear life. Keishan was being a terrible tease and tormentor when he suited his mood. He liked to mock the live wire teaser on live television with inaccessible, practical jokes during a live broadcast. This often while the control room was pouring a 4-minute episode of Adventures of Tom Terrific. The rightful spare animated shorts were about an unconscious lad, Tom, and his Swedish pet, Mighty Moffred the Wonder Dog. During Tom Terrific, which I've never seen. I've seen parts of Tom Terrific, and then all of a sudden you see Bon Scott and the singer Vince Varage or something like that from the Valentines, who's saying, one song, and I kind of wanted to show you that on YouTube, which is a no-no, but that's a good thing, actually. The studio crew would typically head out to the halfway to smoke. Stone recalled that Keishan would remain behind and selflessly pass from camera to camera, okay? Unplugging the headsets and splitting them into his oversized kangaroo pockets. When the stage manager called for the warning, when he was not about to come back live, the cameraman would snuff up the cigarettes in return. Only to realize that they would have been cut off completely in any contact with the director in the control room. There was no return. We're back on the air, live. Keishan would enable around the set and previously would take one of the headsets from his pocket and explain the inflection. There was called a headset, boys and girls. It was a lot of the ones airplanes pilots were when they're flying big airplanes and the pilots were used to talk to people on the ground. Why is it if the pilots don't have their headsets, they would know where to fly. Well, nowadays we use headsets for iPads and other things, like, let's say, technology nowadays. Let's say that, because we use Macs and other technology stuff, things like that, you know. There wasn't being anything that wanted to tell them where to go, and maybe lost or even crash. Well, while Keishan was indulged himself with such mischief, what we call it, he brought next page. Little nonsense who worked with him and for him. He did not want to be shown up, said executive producer Wright, who later served as a term at Children's Television Workshop before moving to Hollywood to become a producer of many television films, you know. Wright said Bob was never talk about anything that had to put with politics in the show, and was surprised one day when our puppeteer Gus Gurney with Mr. Moose on his hand picked up with so what would you do with Red China, Captain? Keishan throws from the bear beat before Mr. Moose completed his thought. Do you think goes with a red tablecloth? That'll be fine. From Joan Stone's first days in the job, Keishan's regarded from the audience and made a memorable positive impression, as did the producer's star's natural abilities to blend as suitable while also excelling his own on-camera role. Bob was a brilliant performer, daily brewing to the life career he had to exactly, but skillfully consent, way to pronounce it. Stone said Kangaroo was created on two bases: elimination of children's programming. Bob Byrne and reacting to elements Bob detested. That Keishan always but the bird the children's from set was directly memorable for this experience of Howdy Doody. It was sad, you know, rather than just play to a studio audience direct the address. Imagine speaking to one preschooler at the time. And often the captain would pose a question. Okay. Hold on. to his young viewer. Sorry about that. Providing a pause to allow the child to think and respond. There was a time that Captain Kangaroo and there was later on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. In the early days, before there were videotape, Stone said Keishan was full of fun. Humor provided everything that went out in the air. Much of directed sparely on over the heads of the preschool target audience. And right parent who might be watching it in the moment I learn that television for children did not have the cause audience to adults to reach, something like that. It was quite possible to attain parents and older siblings that caregivers, folks watching, in appliance stores and station managers without promising any appeal that the program might have for the preschool audience. Keisha was working a breaking schedule in this dual role of performer and producer. Overseeing that all aspects of program making is sure as ideals and contents were as always in all the people involved. Stone said, "This is ideal with parity. Like Mrs. Francis on Ding Dong School and Buffalo Bob Howdy Doody, Keisha was arranged to pitch products on air, but he did that so under strict, self-defined limits, and he would not eat or drink products on camera and would not sell to parents for children," which I agree. If I came across a copy that said, eventually, "Hey kids, ask mom and dad to buy you blank, blank, blank," no matter how so some of the product, I would not have to make management changes in the copy. Wright said, "The first thing Bob did each morning was to read the cue cards. If I haven't caught something, he would force us in higher gear. It was met again advertising the agency on the phone and to work on improve the changing the wording in the commercial. With only minutes spare only until airtime. Keisha would fly into the furry that he saw ad copy that asked the child to go get mommy. Stone recalled Keisha's graphic and comparing image to defend that role. Imagine a happy mother being dragged from the toilet, panties around their ankles. Moving on. Keisha banned some products outright when Kinder Toys and Hasbro would want to introduce a weapon product. He had be it a gun or sword or spear. Bob would not accept the ad. Wright said they put him in a collision course for the sides department. Lifeblood and the network, all hell would be break loose. And I'm not going to be able to cuss in the videos, so there you go. A dramatic standoff occurred in the late fall of 1964 when Keisha refused to accept ads during the run-up the Christmas with a toy that could have been called Come Back in the Box. Stupid idea, I know. Topper's Johnny 7 OMA, the over one-man army gun, was a multi-missile weapon that was once a scramble and missile launcher. Do we have to make fun of this? Riffle and Tommy gun. It was also a rifle pistol. However, short-range rifle might erupt in the backyard. Oh, God. Can we not do this, please? CBS sales department had signed a deal with Topper to air Johnny 7 commercials on Saturday morning shows, including Captain Kangaroo, which Keenan refused to air them. He, along with the executive producer David D. Cano, was summoned to the meeting to respond to issues with Topper and CBS management. The network announced that it would be an violation of its contract if the spots did not air on Captain Kangaroo. If Keisha would not remember it, his show would be canceled. Yeah. Stupid. I know. Bob, to his everlasting credit, stood firm, Stone said. He and Dave turned to leave the conference room. Then Bob turned back on to that civility and said, "Please remember that if the show is canceled, I'll probably get a call from Jet Gold of the New York Times, and Captain Kangaroo was advised I'll have to tell the truth." In the back of his mind, Keishan knew that CBS chairman William Paley will likely have to put a stop to any comment to kill Captain Kangaroo. Paley has expressed the support of the show any number of times, in public and private, has stood away from the news division every time and stage and put to Commander the 8 to 9 a.m. hour. Yeah, I just don't know what to do. Days after the tense meeting, the Johnny Says battle ended with a victory with non-violence. Not only with the commercials not going on the air on Captain Kangaroo, but Keishan was immersed by CBS management that in the future, standard imagining contracts would include a portion to allow individuals show to sign off as on ads. It was true Frank Capra ending, Stone said. Connell, a Clark Kent type in conservative dress and black glasses, was a staying influence with Keishan, you know. It was as if he knew what Keishan would want or need in the situation, even before his boss did. Accompaniment and organizational wonder who worked with ungodly hours. Connell rose quickly through the ranks. Unlike most of his peers at Captain Kangaroo, Connell had a background in education, earning the undergraduate teaching degree in the University of Michigan. His parents were vastly disappointed when, after serving in the Air Force during the Korean War, he returned to Michigan to pursue a master's degree in speech. Their dream was for him to teach. Okay. He was to move to New York and find a job with the television network. Indeed, his 32-page master's thesis, network television appointment, was virtual how-to manual for breaking into television. By following his own advice, Connell got what he was after, landing a spot in Lil Stone's trainee program, which is good enough. Regarded and dedicated to detail to the point of being obsessive competitive. Connell was the production team's station master. Under his coordination, the train always stayed on the tracks and left the depot on time. Beyond every long-running television series in the main, like Connell, who had owned the plague stare set that said that's on no amount you can do so long as you don't care who gets the credit. Yeah. Credit was married to Keishan. It was no accident Bob surrounded himself with the people he did. Stone said they all shared his constant science, and for instance, Bob knew that he is about each of them, and by inspiring that this particular team, they were free from convents and taste. Had any of them been called to create a new children's program, as Bob had been each one certainly would have come up with a show every bit of as respectful as always as Captain Kangaroo. Then too, Bob had a wonderful source of separately to argument this remarkable team. The CBS training program continuously sent fresh young people to work on Kangaroo. Now, I have no idea what to do here. Bob is scrutinizing each new revival. Watch his performance, gag his instance and humor. Then he was found just the right person. Put them out of the CBS program and put them on his own staff. He found one such person in Samuel Gibbon, the young caretaker of the peanut gallery who thought Buffalo Bob was full of bull. Yeah, I maybe agree big time. Edward R. Murrow looked out toward Madison Avenue, illuminated by a stream of morning sunlight. He was standing by a corner window in contemplative silence. Okay, Samuel Gibbon, when I've never heard of him, he was one of the producers of Sesame Street at the time. So there you go. And so is Edward R. Murrow. So there you go. Who also looked toward Madison Avenue, made by a steam morning sunlight, and yeah, he was standing by corner window in commemorative silence, comparing the pages from the tome on Virgin policy, plucked from the wall of the ceiling bookshelves. Now, I don't know what to do here, so there you go. Sam Gibbon was shown to Murrow's stat from CBS News on a spring afternoon in 1958. Survival announced as Murrow's assistant. The door shut and 45 working seconds passed, leaving Gibson to wonder whether she should clear his boat or otherwise he indicate that Mr. Murrow was indeed not alone. Gibbon shifted his weight from right to left and began the starry bed of preparations run down his lower spine and freckled the waist. Sweat spot developing in his blue off-rib cloth shirt just above the belt line. Staring down at the book now, Merrill finished his passage, showing me how his noble profile. Gibbon said he then closed the book, put it back, and turned to me. It was just the most wonderful, theatrical moment, and I was all. Okay, moving on. Mo never asked to see Gibbon's resume. Now engaged in placements, reason of any kind. He really did take the notice of me, choosing instead to offer what amounted to a lecture amounted to the future of television. It was important to the culture. Gibbon recalled, he said the world of television was about television I ever heard. I took the remarkable to have much wider scientific scientific. Just news. And not many people were thinking just that way back then. Morrow went on to describe with a short a person who would be necessary to carry out the medium that in the direction which he has described that was himself a correspondent with unusual abilities, including writing, performing, and directing. Given the hope Spirit Spring would provide a freshening breeze of the career became at NBC, which he was well paid page, which no beneficial hope of promotion. Just a week before this meeting with Merrill, arranged by a friend's father who is a CBS radio news executive at the time, Gibbon had been shown the door at the CBS permanent office. It must have been a buyer's market and employment that spring. Concerning CBS was given 4 bright fellows that bums rush. When Merrill was done speaking, he reached out from my resume, attached a note, and signed his name. I took it back to the office that had, next page, turned me down for a production assistant job that just 10 days before. Okay. With this note following that hired internally, much to this cringe of the guys who have turned me down. Like everyone else who have worked on Captain Kangaroo, Sam Gibbon immediately clicked with Lovey Berman. By all accounts of journal garrisons and kind of a off camera, he was while playing Mr. Green with jeans. The son of a stern minister, Barnum was born in Sandwich, Illinois, west of Chicago. I don't know what Sandwich is say, but in Chicago, but whatever. The family moved to California, where young Hugh acquired the nickname Lumpy. Okay, in his memoir, Johnstone claims to be one of the few people who know the story behind this sub-recorded. Apparently, he, and then an appropriate telling of the tale concludes with a wink and a fairly laugh. I will only say that the truth is preferably disgusting. No, it wasn't. Stone observed nearby. As a child, Lumpy showed early promise in music and blossomed into a versatile instrumentalist, mastering tuba, trombone, and black bass flute fiddle. On top of all that, he's also played the guitar and had a pleasant singing voice. During the war, Barnum auditioned to be a spot in the Marine Corps band, and was shipped to the South Pacific with a gaggle of jazz musicians who have enlisted rather than to just wait for the beat drop. Of an debating of Bob Crosby, Bing's Bob at the time. Okay. Barnum's lips were nearly worn out playing the Marine Corps hymn. In relaxed moments in our studio, Lumpy told many tales of about the reverence of their musicians to play at the parade ground ceremonies there or at officers' club dances. Keeshan said it may have seemed like crunchy dory from Barnum in the South Seas, but over time, the Captain Kangaroo crew and production team learned otherwise. When they weren't playing commercials and generals coming on and off aircraft carriers, the band members were assigned burial detail. Okay, Sam Gibbons said. Okay, moving on. When their instruments were packed away, the boys in the band shoveled graves in the often motorway's corpse. Why? Do you have to not do that, please? Lumpy was such a gentle soul. It was never influent and any discriminate on any person, even if it wasn't just letting him know the difficult time he had during the war. Stone said he saw the worst part of the Pacific War, excuse me. And that's come through the humor, generous intent. Well, not quite as a farmer, like Mr. Green Jeans. Barnum was an intelligent gardener who was cart in the fresh pick vegetables, who was at the studio on Monday mornings from his home in the Parsons. Lumpy was a leader in the colony movement back in the 1950s, long before environment became a buzzword in the American legend. Keeshan said he was tell our audience about the needs to shape our perfect potato world, plan for the future. For those segments, there were little in vanity. Preparation was given to Lumpy. Okay, it all came from his mind to his heart. He had a genius from the earth to his creatures, great and small. Though each episode of Captain Kangaroo was mentally scripted and timed with writers, was understood that Keeshan and Graham could and would impersonation to great good enough. Keeshan was stunned, rehearsal reserved the right to ignore scripts altogether, sometimes dismissing them out in hand, okay? With only minutes to spare before airtime, Bob hated the rehearsals from the combinations of reasons, okay? Excuse me. Gibbons said it was partly laziness and partly because he loved winging it. He really enjoyed the aliveness of it, and he felt that he rehearse it would take a lot of freshness out of the performance. So he didn't rehearse. So during my days as a studio producer, I would stand for him as rehearsal. Making changes, in the scripts and where we went, depending on how the segments time out, and knowing that what Keeshan would hate and what and not hate. The writer might have been most in the tune with Keeshan needs that the former is with Kano. Stay and supremely organize where it was. Excuse me. Its script pages were carelessly, whatever pronunciation was, carelessly, crisp, spare, and simple. There seemed it didn't want to have a hay of a lot of imagination of them. But Dave understood Keeshan's and Captain Kangaroo. At least as well as anybody. As well as when Cap O'Connell's script came in the studio, everybody had a sigh of relief because Keeshan would be happy and the show will go swimmingly. Gibbon said they were underwritten, they were, which meant a bit went wrong, that was fine. You didn't have to cut anything. Dave was that just had the wonderful sense of humor, one sense of what Bob would do. So important that because they want to know until 5 minutes before the show was go on the air, whatever we do be before doing it as we written with Bob in character and costume, and we or wherever we go being bringing it all the way on B. Well, who never was perfectly happy with that degree of uncertainty. He was the second banana and liked that role. He played all occasions sorely beautifully. It did, however, like being the first banana. Sad, no. That wasn't not what his comfort zone or first role in the program. However much Keaton's Rise and Burnham's production colleagues believe the co-star was granted to real respect. Keaton's has a mean streak. He like to let people dangle. Yeah, I agree. It's so sad, you know. Sir Tom weaved on. Something like that. Who wrote for Kangaroo before moving to greater successful head writer for a legend company and writer producer for the string primetime comedies including The Golden Girls. Lumpy was on a 1-year contract the entire was with Captain Kangaroo, so that he never ever knew whether or not he was going to be back the next year. Lumpy was always worried he wasn't doing well enough. Bob Curley said, Captain Kangaroo's head writer for 23 years. He was in something like that. When said, when we always hoping Keaton's would be in a good mood. Sometimes when he was arrived, he was in the bad mood and saw a writer's name on the script. He's fired at the writer on the spot. He did, after all, own the football. Like all participants in the CBS Directors Training Program, Stone and Gibbon had to move on to other assignments to round up their experience and to introduce new challenges. Stone worked on 2 game shows that he recalled bent the roles on Strike It Rich. One of his duties was to assist and provide contestants with answers to questions. They were likely to be asked. On that show, the Stardust people with new needed medical care of the rainfall to head off for culture, who would be asked simple quiz questions. If they answer them correctly, they win money. If they come back blank, they manage to take donations for viewers calling in. TV guy called Strike It Rich a medical travesty on the very nature of currency. On Stand Be Cold, another dominant scholarly experiment, contestants should sneak the advice of audience should solve a real life dilemma. If you thought the poor should follow plan A, you should Stone Cold a state-of-the-art electronic stand device and manually designed the exact number of stands. Those favoring Plan B, would then stand. But that the results will be calculated by a computer, which Stone described as a large board with electric lights and all over it. Beyond stood a producer with 2 stagehands, which is event first audience group rows to be counted. One stagehand would be returning the crank that caused the lights to flash, peeking through the hole. A producer would eyeball then the stainless, and then whispers the other stagehand, call it 39. Both Stone and Gibbon work on the daytime Jimmy Dean show with the Easy As You Please afternoon variety series, which my dad likes the most, because Dad, if you watch this, for you, but you're gonna love the Ralph the dog and things like that, you know. Hosted by the likable Texian, who would later become a boy in a breakfast sausage, Jimmy Dean, that is, a boyish country singer whose smooth skin crossovers appeal, concluded each show with a divisional, something like that. Stage light with dim and surrounded by no noteworthy a male-female singing group. Dean will offer a Hyman homie bay cams. Gibbon dated one of the noteworthies. Okay, we use the together and harmonize in the apartment of the group's married couples, he said. When Jimmy came over one evening, we were all standing around the piano. He could read a note of music. I could, and Jimmy noticed. You could read that. I'm not gonna cuss in the video, so there you go. He asked. A week later, at the end of the broadcast, Jimmy said, "We got a surprise for you and for our stage manager, Sam. And he's going to sing with the Northworthies next week." So excited, but anyway. I just forgot about the felt through the floor. I didn't have any describer to do this. You have ever performed in public? I was not a singer. I just do it for fun. I said to the executive producer, if you make me do this, I won't show up that day. But my protests were to not avoid. So I did a song, backed by Noteworthies, and from that, fan mail began to show up, and I had to sing again. An entire fan club formed. And Jimmy would call me out on stage in the interview desk, and just read his letters aloud while the camera stayed fixed onto my face. He was absolutely awful. Then the executive producer called me into his office one day and said, "Listen, I make you a star. I have connections in the music business." I said, "Forget it," and went back in the stage manager again. In 1960, Gibbon took some needed time off. I didn't let everyone know where I was going, he said. Not my parents, my friends, everybody. I was going to get too far as I could get. Then turn around and when half my vacation was gone. It was gone as far as Terrari, a distance that's not 5,500 natural miles from Manhattan. I was living in a hotel that had frigid hunts by the water, having an entire time. Then one morning, one of the hotel's employees came racing, saying they were wire waiting for me to the local telegraph one office. I jumped in the motorbike and raced through town, thinking anybody would have figured out where I was had to have some emergency reasons to contact me. Okay. Give a tour in this telegram to the first sentence where that reads, "Lad's chance to avoid 42." It was mood showered reminder that awaited Gibbon in New York. After the session of enjoyable studio set assignments in daytime television, progressions from a production assistant to stage manager, his number had finally come up to produce at CBS. The network nerve center within a area of Grand Channel Central, Terminal, like those lonely nano sports were faceless government drones monitor Defense System Associate Directors as Master Control Studio 42. Also, the network's precise second-by-second system of program coordination. Okay, Joe Stone described the first 6 months of service as Master Control, the first most terrifying, nerve-wracking responsibility imaginative. Excuse me. The ad responsible for making sure every program was a commercial went on the air and schedule. It was also his job to working during network and the Nation breaks to cue the always unseen studio announcer who was told, "This is CBS." Okay. Next page. At the time I was in the job, President Inspire had his own first heart attack. Stone said, "Stand by. We have an extremely combination of anniversary to be aired immediately in the case a second heart attack should, without warning," felt the president. For 6 months, I lived with dread that action hire might die while I was in the duty. Given dread, the idea of sequestered at Studio 42 altogether, tucked it away in the broadcasting equipment of the bunker. The first line of telegram came the abrupt tap of the shoulder. The second and third lines provided the psst. They read, "Come work on Captain Kangaroo. We have an opening on the staff." It was signed Dave Connell, executive producer, Captain Kangaroo. Okay. Hold on. Yeah, we'll be on for like an hour and 40 minutes of the next scene, plus the 27 minutes of that first recording. There we go. That was like 2 hours of this recording for this YouTube video. There we go. Moving on. Gibbon could not imagine how Connell is tracked his Gibbon down, and furiously I was annoyed and gone through this terrible accident, Gibbon thinking that someone from my family had died. I was in shock for this to happen, he recalled. I sent him back a very rude telegram saying that I wasn't interested. I finished my vacation, came home, and went to work at Studio 42. After 6 months in the dark, Gibbon cooled off, and Connell renewed the offer. By then, the charm of working all night, doing late movies, and that by then, the charm was working all night, was doing late. Sorry. I don't know where it's on. But then the charm of working in all night by doing late movies had worn off. Okay, never mind. Gibbon said, sheepishly, he joined Robert Keeshan Associates, the production company responsible for Captain Kangaroo. Okay? As an associate producer and writer. Okay? Not long after returning to the show, Badger Gibbon became Samaritan, something like that, with Colonel Security, Carol Jordan. They kept the relationship secret, lest Keeshan's learned it up that it subject them teasing, whatever. Meanwhile, Gibbon's roommate, John Stone, had his eye on Beverly Ogg. Never heard of her, but whatever. A fresh-faced blonde from the Midwest to look at if she's just got stepped out from the top tab in her movie. Okay? Raised in Albany, Iowa. I never heard of that before. Okay? And see, but whatever. August came to New York City in 1959 after graduating from the University of Michigan. Upon arrival in the city, she stole a bag, caught a cab, and was off to meet Dave Call over at the production office of Captain Kangaroo. Months before, she had written a letter of introduction to Call in the violence of Ed Stadev, a professor of television arts, under whom both she and Kano, a few years earlier, had studied. Kano responded with a cover letter that included the line, "Were you ready to come to New York? Let me know." In person, Kano stared the sad truth, even though Og had the criminals and experience in the college television studio, the carekeepers and television in New York were not considering women producers' production jobs. Why? It's just sad, you know? I've actually gotten into production in Michigan because my father instance and have to earn a living, she said. I've really wanted to be an actress. Connor sent her CBS professional office where Og learned a skeletal job in the casting department. Though her typing skills were questionable, and she was trained in detraction. She was hired for the position. It didn't take long for Og to realize that throughout the CBS were overqualified securities that, like herself, woman whose burnations were perversely on the basis of gender. We weren't trained to be securities, she said. We have liberal arts degrees. We have come to New York to do something exciting, wanted to work on television. But they just weren't hiring women to do much. Og was offering a job in summer replacement series, where again her responsible were credible and her performance I had the production skills, but I didn't type that fast enough. August said. She then became the security with the network's Sunday night edition, The Ed Sullivan Show, that ended the series on one Sunday afternoon during dress rehearsal, when Sullivan demanded that then introduction became the revised and call out for skeletal assistance. The woman of the skeletal pole worked Sundays on a rotation basis. It was Og's week. Can you take detention? Sullivan asked. No, I can't, Og said. Various steam off. And on Monday morning, Og was fired. I'm just not happy at this point. But thanks to the good grace of Dave Connell, her 9-live skeletal carrier got the final respire when she filed an opening to type scripts for Captain Kangaroo, having to see ballpen among the relevant. Well, schooled wits in the production staff was like answering the phone at the Harvard Lampoon. One day, Og was told well done, and Stone, she was considering ditching her, like Dutch surname, and adopting a more neutral stage name. Oh my, what am I gonna do with her? Unsure of what it should be, she asked to bear help. After cautioning in the hallway, they returned with a suggestion. We got it. Stone said Tuesday Hog. God help me. Surname Sweepstakes, and with Beverly adopting Owen as a stage name. Since she got an agent, took in auditions and snagged a small role a daytime serial as the world turns. Working weekends like Captain Kangaroo to make up that time away from the office. Dave Connell, who had done some acting himself during his years in the Air Force, proved to flex hours. One spring evening, when Beverly was returning home from the theater performance, she stepped off a bus just as Stone was pulling up to a stoplight for the Triumph TR3 top down. He gave me a ride home. As we ended off talking, Owen said, okay. Without a second, secret workplace romance blossom. Okay. After 4 years, this trend groughing off lives of dairy shows and overseeing this operation began way heavily on Keishan. But even when the production of Captain Kangaroo went to videotape, elimination of the second show and the need for arriving for work before dawn, okay? The more carefree, playful spirit that has once defined his studio, the mayor curiously referred Bob has a hot Irish temper, and he didn't mind using it, said Sam Gibbon, who became an educational director of Robert Keeshan Associates. On a good day, working in the show, was like living through the very Schurzer's childhood an hour at a time. It was a commercial reference, but there were lots of stormy periods, difficulties, and arguments. Stupid idea, I know. Offstage, Keishan have quick triggers, temper, and an acid tongue, and the chief executive of Robert Keeshan and the associates have tight-fisted, demanding the managerial, something like that, style spread mainly into wonder on its staff. He would never hold back on his feelings, said Bob Curry, the one-time head writer. There were days that we did not want to be on the set, and other days he was too happy to be there. We had all the ups and downs you might expect, working under the conditions, and stress and the cerebrals of dealing with questions on Sir's particularly during what some say is a difficult period of his personal life. The boss's moods versus the bond amongst the writers. Rules of work with Keeshan's often dismissed as crap. Curry recalls during the reception with Washington, he was introduced to the production team as an employable staff. After work, the group would commiserate over cocktails. There was a bar across the street from the studio that was sold a triple material from $1.50, and then it got a lot of deep trouble. Williams said, "It was the hardest drinking crowd I ever worked with. The joke was we loved the captain but hated Keeshan. Over on weekends, production staff members was dragoon into accompanying Keeshan into his fragrant concert appearance with 70 orchestras. Staff members were not paid for working these live fine music shows. It was considered part of this job. This concert was difficult, and you didn't get the weekend off." And we all grumbled agree about having to go, okay? But in the end, it was like a reward. Gibbons said that the direct contract with the audience was a real replenishment, okay? A replenishment, whatever you pronounce it. You saw what Captain Kangaroo was doing for kids, and you felt gratified. To see Keishan's with 1,500 kids was given a reversion. His ascent as a performer were uncanny. He could turn the audience of kids on like nobody I ever seen. His timing was brilliant, and also you learned how good simple stuff for kids could be. Okay. We got a bunch of cardboard boxes and paint them to look like train cars. Kids will get up on stage and be a train, and we'll do this in a piece of train music. You first of yourself in rehearsal. Whoa, that's pretty stupid. And then you will see if it's audition with Keishan orchestrating it. Okay. It would be the most exciting and extraordinary vehicle thing. Okay? It was just perfectly wonderful. These appearances that was showered with applause and squeals with a bomb execution, okay? The sharp edges were so evident in the New York studio that gave way to the softer Connor's influences. One of the weekend workers was Northern White, who had been a lightweight boxing champion and Yale in the as worked in Europe and North Africa to armed services and television, radio and television. Excuse me. Okay. Right could call for that after performance promoters would offer ask Keishan to visit a children's hospital. He would agree, but it was proposal, no press coverage. Bob would be tired, but he would show up in the costume and reach inside oxygen tents to hold kids in hands. He said in Cincinnati, they came up to him and said the kid that only had 6 weeks in lives. When you were here last year, it's still alive. We wants to see you. Bob said, cancel the plane. I'm going out to see him. It takes a certain amount to heart to do stuff like that. And I think Bob's heart was in the right place. On the road, Keishan enjoyed evenings out and was in production staff and often treated them like a the best restaurant in town. He liked good wine and was generous to his Johnny Walker Black Label Scotch, said Tom Widlin. When probably Robbins, the boys would often seek out local entertainment, including Berkowitz shows. If were one of the real valuable lessons I learned from Keishan, it was that a Scotch sour the rocks a very good hangover drink. Excuse me, Weston said. Through the days, good days and bad. The hand-selected teams, Keishan and Spable brought up the best of him. Bob wanted to be more than what he was, but he didn't have the talent, said Wright. His professional was modest. We were certainly not going to turn Bob Keishan into zero maestro with the bright. With his script, you have written of writers were terrific schools, and were the Broadway stage from Neil Simon of Governor Champion. Excuse me. They all harbor the desire to do Fanny more than what they were doing at Captain Kangaroo, but they, like me, have fallen into terror trap. It was considered job that helped with health and pension benefits and a decent salary. I have 3 more pages left and I'll wrap up this episode because this is going to be too long, so there you go. On the arguing and his urgent staff surgery, okay. Beverly Owen auditioned for a spot for Miss Regringold's, beauty contest. A wildly successful prom audition begun in 1941 by Lee Bauman Brewery. 1-6 ranking beat in terms of the sales in New York. Regarding shot into #1. Okay. Thanks to the bevy of Waltham Bell models who combined it from the annual crown. Grace Kelly was famously turned down the spot. The contest was for being too thin. Owen apparently was not. Okay. As one of the 6 finalists in 1963, she made $500,000, a week. Not long afterwards, Owen signed a 7-year deal with Universal and filmed guest appearance on NBC's Craft Mystery Theater, a summer replacement series in 1961, and Wagon Train, an adult Jake Western that first ran on NBC in 1957 from 1962, before jumping to ABC in 1962 from 1965 on the Ferdinand 1962 to 1971. Television's first 90-minute Western. Okay? Owen played Doug Nicker's chase love interest in the episode in which son Storm forced the two spend the night in the cave. They did nothing but keep on kiss. But Owen, as a character, skin landed to the convert in the end of the story. Stone, meanwhile, growing restless at Kangaroo, applying to enter the actor's studio. Okay, Lee's Strasbourg's exclusive center for professional actors looking to expand career development. He made it to the past the intentional audition before being cut. But after multiple callbacks, he won a role in Money, a musical serial co-written by his Kangaroo colleague Warden. With music by composer Sam Pardo. It was staged and split level compared known as upstairs and as downstairs. A hip performance space in the 56th Street that was a breeding ground for actors and comedians in the 1950s and 1960s. In the July 10th, 1963 edition of the New York Times, critic from Paul Gardner wrote, perhaps the best member of the is given to Joan Stowe, an angry scarecrow, who readily admits to be the loser of the year. And give a cheer, he holds back the tears they observes fondly. I waited for years apparently to knock. But every time I open the door, it's Alvin calling. Stupid idea, I know. Moving on. Stone, then the producer of Kangaroos, who also wrote scripts who already were 2 90-minute performances of Money each night. His New York work day didn't end until 1:30 a.m. Okay? Which meant he would often get less than 4 hours of sleep. Will happen to be Captain Kangaroo at 8 a.m. As Money stretched into a 6-month run, his boss Dave Kendall confronted him to because neither his day job or acting, Stone, who could be confronted and defined by Farley, was leaning towards quitting Captain Kangaroo when another development arose. Bob Cushan, who also looking to stretch as a performer, was mounting the second children's show for Saturday mornings, a Kangaroo spinoff called Mr. Mayor. Cushan's expected the writing staff to pump out material for the new show without any additional commissions. This did not sit well with Stone when one night during the staff dinner at Chris Chella's Steakhouse at 46th Street, with their tongues loosened by alcohol, they were ignited by argument at the table. If our works is such crap, why wouldn't you do the more of it? Stone asked. If it got tasty, if it's just its sides that were drawn. Executive producer Dave Connell and head writer Bob Colway were, well, perhaps spy tactic to the writers give evidence, understandably lined up with the boss, which Ferber intended Stone well done. They load all their pent-up hurt and honesty, and then like woozy tag team, Welford leaving the ring, arms and over shoulders, walk on the restaurant and off the show. Yeah, it was so messed up. And fair to say, in the spring of 1961, except as a nation's free broadcast network is still stinging from the public's violations of FCC's chairman Newton Minow. The reiterating phrase Minow used his May speech with the industry leaders in the National Broadcast Association, describing the television as a vast wasteland, bringing the hate of the network's overloads, especially those charged with the production of even younger audiences. In the speech, Manos described children's shows a little more than massive dose of cartoons, violence, and more violence. In response, the network raced to be the first to launch a high-profile, commercially viable children's project, and for no better reason than to get the JFK appointed FCC chairman off their backs. NBC devoted a year of development to exploring an hour-long noontime series designed to predict the accuracy and expanded the knowledge of children aged 5 to 11. Its host was Dr. Albert R. Hibbs, a senior staff scientist at California Associates of Technology's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. For series producer, the network turned not to a rocket scientist, but to an experiment newsman in Craig and B. Fisher. Okay? We began this career with NBC as an associate producer of Today, under Dave Garay. It was Fisher's who was promoted staff writer Barbara Walters, who was her first on-air job as the cheesy Today girl. Fisher took a authority step in the bringing aboard as robotic content for exploring, and Dr. Gerald S. Lesser, a biological professor of education and development, biology of Howard's Graduate Schools of Education. At the time, Lesser and the students had begun a serious educational intelligence efforts of child's development. I have an sentence opportunities starting in 1961 to experience young children watching. Next page. Then wrap up the show. Television. We found these experiences the illumination source of ideas and how children learn, Lester one wrote. Greg Fisher has if I would watch with groups of children in the show. As the show would have been produced to see what I can learn that would improve the series from week to week. The arrangement provide him with minutes to children's reaction, to provide me with the necessary to observe children closely and see how children television programs were created. In 1963, encyclopedias Briantas produced and have sponsorship of the show. As the origins of the company, new Vice President and General Constable Newton Monroe, who was resigned as SFC chairman. In June of that year, Exploring won the Peabody Award, Service of Children, and did with Walt Disney's Wonderful World of Color. And the Sunday primetime schedule began at 7 p.m. The NBC Peacock will appear in the full plumage, reminding viewers that the following program is in living color. And Disney himself will introduce each episode of the comedy series. The program was much as showcase of the Disney entertainment base and would be campaigned by NBC's parent company, RCA, to entice consumers to replace their aging black and white TVs with a color model. So that was Street Game Chapter 3. Now, I'm going to put this up somewhere and give a nice look and final thoughts on Chapter 3 right now. This won't take me long, so stay with me. See. Oh my, what am I gonna do? Okay, there we go. It was awesome, so stay tuned for the next one. It's gonna be my unboxing video on my main channel. But till next time, this is Jerry saying goodbye, peace out, baby. Whew, this is gonna be a long episode if you want to watch all that. But till then, Jeff was saying out. See ya.